All right, everybody, get ready for a deep dive today because we're going to crack the code on modern B2B sales.
Sounds exciting.
We're diving into methodologies, those frameworks that can totally change how you approach sales deals.
Awesome.
And you know how we roll here? Right to the good stuff.
Love it.
Consider this your fast track to sales mastery. No jargon overload, I
No
promise.
jargon overload. Gotta love that.
So we're talking sales methodologies, and you've got a stack of sources on different approaches, which is smart because, let's be honest, there's no one-size-fits-all in sales anymore.
Nope, definitely not. What's really interesting to me is how much the sales landscape has changed. Even just looking back a few years.
Oh, absolutely. Buyers are crazy informed these days. It's not like, you just show up with a good product and a winning smile anymore. So how do we figure out all these frameworks, especially for us, the learners out there, who really want to use this knowledge efficiently? And that's where you come in. That's where your expertise comes in.
Well, I think a good place to start would be with, a familiar face, BANT.
Okay, yeah.
It's a classic for a reason. It's simple. It's efficient.
I like it already.
BANT stands for Budget, Authority, Need, Timeline.
Okay.
And it's about quickly qualifying leads based on these 4 criteria.
Got it, got it. So if you're new to sales, that's like your checklist, right? Make sure
Yeah.
you're not wasting time
Exactly.
on leads that are going nowhere.
You don't want to do that.
But I'm guessing it's not that simple anymore.
Well, you're right. It can be a bit too simplistic, especially when you think about the complex world of B2B sales these days.
Right.
And that's where Mastering BANT, that article, brings up a really important point, which is that oversimplification can actually make you miss opportunities, especially when you're dealing with these deals that involve multiple stakeholders.
Right. And learners, we hate missing opportunities. It's like showing up to a buffet with a teaspoon.
That's a good way to put it.
So how do we upgrade to a bigger plate? What comes after BANT?
That's a great question. So think of it as like an evolution. You've got frameworks like SPIN and CVI. These frameworks build upon those core ideas from BANT, but they add this nuance that's needed in today's sales environment.
Okay.
They take us deeper into really understanding the needs of the customer and how to quantify them.
Quantifying needs. Now, you're
Yeah.
speaking our language. Data-driven, specific. I love it. But let's break this down. What exactly is SPIN selling?
So SPIN stands for situation, problem, implication, and need payoff.
Okay.
And unlike BANT, which is really about qualifying those existing needs, SPIN focuses on guiding the prospect to actually uncover those needs themselves, and we do that through a series of really targeted questions.
Okay, so it's less about checking boxes and more about taking them on that journey.
Exactly.
I bet you're amazing at those implication questions, the ones that make the prospect really feel the pain of not solving that problem.
Oh, yeah.
Mastering SPIN selling really highlighted those as being effective.
They're crucial, and the reason for that is that they create that sense of urgency, but it's not about overwhelming them with data, right? You're helping them experience the cost of inaction,
Right.
and that's perfect for those learners out there who hate information overload. Now, CVI, which stands for Customer Value Index, that takes things a step further by actually putting a number on those needs.
All right, so we've got them nodding along, but now we need to hit them with the numbers. Tell me, how does CVI work its magic?
So with CVI, it's all about making sure you're presenting the value you bring to the table in a way that really clicks with those executives, especially the ones who are all about that ROI.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely watching the bottom line.
Exactly. So CVI breaks it down into 4 main parts: goals, value, vision, and urgency.
Okay, so it's not like we're just throwing a bunch of solutions at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Not at all.
We're really trying to align with their big picture goals from the get-go.
Absolutely. You've got to showcase that tangible value you're bringing to the table. Paint a crystal clear picture of what success looks like with your solution. And then, this is key, you emphasize the cost of delaying action.
Gotcha. So it's all about speaking their language.
Yes.
Show them the numbers.
Yes.
And really create that I need this now feeling.
Exactly.
But sometimes you need more than just the data to get through.
Right.
Sometimes you got to shake things up a bit, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. And that's a perfect segue into our next methodology, which is the challenger sale.
Okay.
And this one's interesting because it really contrasts with those more collaborative approaches that we've been talking about so far.
Okay, so this is the one where you walk in, you drop some truth bombs, and you challenge their entire perspective.
You got it.
I was hooked just reading the title, Mastering the Challenger Sale. Teach, tailor, and take control.
It's a powerful one. It just screams confidence.
That's the challenger mindset for sure. It's all about being a thought leader, not just a product pusher.
Right, right.
You're coming to the table with those unique insights, that data that challenges their assumptions, pushes them outside their comfort zone. And remember, as learners, we love those aha moments.
Oh, yeah, those are the best.
And challenges are all about creating those moments.
Okay, I am sold on the idea, but how do you actually pull this off without, coming across as a little too intense?
Well, it's a dance. You have to find that right balance.
Right.
The challenger sale is really built on 3 pillars. The first is teach. So that you're teaching by bringing new ideas to the table, maybe even some disruptive ideas. The second pillar is tailoring your message to make sure it resonates with each stakeholder's priorities.
And then, finally, you take control of the conversation.
I like it.
And guide it in a way that leads to a decision.
So you've challenged their thinking, you've shown them a new perspective, and now it's about guiding them toward, the light.
Exactly.
But what happens when you got a prospect who just doesn't like to be challenged? Some people just aren't comfortable with that level of directness.
And that's why it's so important to have a diverse sales toolkit, right?
That's true.
So if you're vibing with this challenger approach, but you realize it's just too assertive for this specific prospect, you can always switch gears to something like the Sandler selling system.
Ah, the Sandler system.
Yeah.
I read a really great piece on mastering the Sandler selling system, and it really does seem like the opposite of the challenger sale in a way. It's less about leading the witness and more about letting the buyer convince themselves.
Yes.
Is that kind of the gist?
Yeah, Sandler's all about building that trust and uncovering those pain points, but through skillful questioning.
Right.
And you're guiding the buyer to realize on their own that they need your solution.
I see.
So it's more like collaborative problem solving.
I love that. It takes the pressure off of that hard sell.
Oh, sure.
It's more genuine. There was this one thing that really stood out to me in the article, is this whole concept of an upfront contract.
Yes.
It sounds intriguing and maybe even a little scary at the same time.
Right. I know it can sound a little intimidating at first, but I promise you, it's not as bad as it sounds. It's really just about setting crystal clear expectations right from the start.
Okay, I like that.
You're both agreeing on the purpose of this conversation, the outcomes you're both looking for, and even potential obstacles that might pop up along the way.
So it's like you're on the same page from the very beginning.
Exactly.
Transparency, that shared understanding, I can see how that would be really appealing, especially for us learners who appreciate structure.
Absolutely. Builds trust, and you're both using your time effectively. Now, we've covered a lot of ground here with these different approaches, but there's one really important thing we haven't even touched on yet, and that's data.
Data, the lifeblood of any good learner.
Exactly.
It's not about gut feelings anymore, right? We've got to bring the numbers to the table.
We need those hard facts. And that's where our next methodology comes in. Sales as a science.
Okay, I like it.
This approach is all about using data to make better decisions.
Okay.
Optimize that sales process and ultimately, close more deals.
Okay, I'm already geeking out a bit. Tell me more about this sales as a science thing. What's the secret sauce?
Well, that article, Mastering Sales as a Science, puts it perfectly. It's all about moving away from just intuition and hunches.
Right.
And towards a truly data-driven approach. We're talking about collecting data, analyzing it, testing different hypotheses, optimizing your processes, and then using those results to continuously improve.
It's like the scientific method, but for sales. Instead of mixing chemicals in a lab, we're experimenting with different sales techniques.
There you go.
And then we marry those outcomes.
You got it.
What's not to love?
I love that energy. And you're spot on. Just like in science, you got to start with a hypothesis. So what do you think will work best for your target audience?
Right? And then you got to test it. Run those experiments, gather the data, and then you use what you learn to improve your approach. Continuous improvement.
Exactly. You're always learning.
I bet this really resonates with our listeners, those data-driven learners who love a good experiment.
Oh, for sure. And we can't forget the role of technology in all of this. Having the right CRM, those sales enablement tools, those analytics platforms.
Game changers.
They can make all the difference.
That's like having a digital sidekick that's helping you crunch those numbers.
Yes.
Identify patterns and optimize your every move.
Exactly.
No more flying blind.
No more. Sales as a science, it empowers you to make decisions, but not based on that gut feeling. You're going off of solid data.
Love it. But even with the best data and the most amazing tools, there's this one challenge that can totally make or break a deal. Indecision.
Oh, customer indecision. The worst.
The silent killer of sales.
You can have the best pitch, a product that they clearly need, and still nothing. Crickets.
It makes you want to bang your head against the wall. Okay, we still have MEDDPICC and the JOLT effect.
All right.
Are those kind of niche methodologies for specific sales situations?
Yeah, I'd say so. MEDDPICC and JOLT are particularly useful for complex B2B sales.
Yeah.
You know, the kind with longer sales cycles, multiple decision makers, that sort of thing. MEDDPICC is all about really qualifying the lead.
So making sure you've dotted your I's and crossed your T's. What about this JOLT effect?
The JOLT effect, that's all about dealing with indecisive customers. You know, sometimes you have a prospect, seems like a perfect fit, but they just can't seem to pull the trigger.
Oh, yeah. Indecision can be a deal killer, for sure. So how does JOLT help with that?
It's like you got to give them that extra push, you know? JOLT stands for judging indecision, offering recommendations, limiting exploration, and taking risk off the table. So it's like you acknowledge they're feeling stuck, you give them some solid options, you narrow it down so they're not overwhelmed, and then you make it a no-brainer to say yes.
Interesting. Instead of letting them stay stuck, you're giving them a nudge in the right direction.
It is. It's a nice change of pace from all the hard-selling tactics you see out there.
Definitely. But what about those really big deals? Enterprise-level, month-long sales cycles.
Okay, yeah, those are a different beast.
You need a framework as big as the deals themselves.
What's the answer there?
MEDDPICC.
We're in the big leagues now. You mentioned this one was perfect for these complex sales cycles.
Oh, yeah, it's a big one. And it can be a game changer when you get it right.
Okay, so what makes MEDDPICC so effective in those high-stakes situations?
So MEDDPICC is like the Swiss Army knife of methodologies.
I like it. Tell me more.
It covers everything, pretty much. Identifying the decision maker, understanding those complex processes.
Right, because those big companies' decisions can take forever.
Exactly. And MEDDPICC helps you navigate that whole thing.
Okay, break it down for me. What are the key parts that make it so effective?
Okay, so MEDDPICC stands for metrics, economic buyer, decision criteria, decision process, paper process, identify pain, champion, and competition.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
It's a lot, but each part is important. Let's start with metrics.
Right.
So like CVI, it's about putting a number on your value, but MEDDPICC goes even deeper.
How so?
You need to find out the exact metrics that your prospect cares about most.
They're pain points. What keeps them up at night?
Yes. And you tie those directly to your solution.
Okay, so it's not just, we'll save you money, it's
Our solution has been shown to reduce customer support tickets by 20% on average, which for your call volume means about
I see, you put it in their terms.
at X dollars in savings annually.
Now that's powerful.
Right. You're speaking their language, data-driven.
Data is king.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay, but even with the best metrics, you're dead in the water if you're not talking to the right person.
You need to be in front of the decision maker.
That's the economic buyer part of
Yeah.
MEDDPICC.
Right, makes sense.
In these big companies, you could waste months talking to the wrong people. You need to find the person who actually holds the budget.
Right. It's like figuring out who has the final say.
Exactly. And once you've found them, you got to figure out their decision criteria. What are they looking for? What are their deal breakers?
Are they all about innovation, or are they looking for the most cost-effective option?
Exactly. You got to crack the code of their decision-making process.
Which brings us to...
Decision process. How do they actually make decisions? Is there a committee? Do they need multiple levels of approval?
Right. It can get really complicated with those big organizations.
The whole section on paper process.
Oh, yeah, the legal stuff.
Contracts, forms, all of it. You got to know what you're walking into.
Because that's usually where things get held up.
Exactly. MEDDPICC helps you anticipate those roadblocks so you can keep things moving.
So you're basically clearing the path before you even start driving.
Exactly. And speaking of roadblocks, we can't forget about the identify pain part of MEDDPICC. Might sound strange, but you actually want to help them see the negative consequences of not solving the problem.
So not just the good stuff your solution brings, but the bad stuff that happens if they do nothing.
Exactly. You got to create that urgency, make them realize they need to act now.
Makes sense. And who better to help you with that than someone on the inside?
Ah, you're talking about the champion.
Right. The person who's in their corner vouching for you.
Exactly. That internal advocate can make all the difference, especially in those long, complex deals.
I bet. Someone who can give you the inside scoop.
Exactly. But even with a great champion and a solid solution, you can't forget about
the competition.
Exactly. You got to know who else is out there, what their strengths and weaknesses are.
Right, because even in those big companies, there's always someone else trying to get that budget.
Always. So you need to be ready to position yourself strategically. Okay, so to sum it up, MEDDPICC is really a way to cover all your bases.
It's the whole package. Finding the decision maker, navigating the process, handling the paperwork, even dealing with the competition.
It's a lot, but it's worth it for those big wins.
I can see that.
We really have gone through a lot here, haven't we? It's pretty amazing when you think about it. We've gone from those super simple checklists like BANT to these complex frameworks.
I know.
Frameworks that really address such specific challenges.
So as you're thinking back on all these different methodologies, ask yourself, which ones really spoke to me?
Yeah.
Which ones feel most relevant to my own sales style and those everyday challenges I face?
That's so true. It's easy to get caught up in trying to learn every single technique like it's some kind of magic bullet.
Yeah.
But we got to prioritize, right?
Absolutely. Focus is key.
Just like any good learner.
Yeah.
We need to hone in on what's going to make the biggest difference in our own little sales world.
Exactly. It's about creating your own, personalized sales toolkit, you know? You might find yourself really drawn to that data-driven approach of sales as a science.
Yeah.
Or maybe you connect more with the empathy and questioning of the Sandler system.
Right. And who knows, maybe we'll even see some kind of hybrid combining the best of both worlds. But there's this whole other layer we haven't even talked about. Yeah. And it kind of throws a wrench in everything.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
The rise of AI in sales.
Ah, yes. The elephant in the room. Or should I say the algorithm in the room?
Right. And we're all about leveraging technology, all about data. But could AI actually become like the ultimate salesperson?
Ooh, good question.
Surpassing even the most skilled human. I'm excited and terrified at the same time.
Yeah, it's a big question that a lot of people are talking about. But I think instead of thinking about it as robots taking over,
Right.
it's more helpful to see AI as this really powerful tool, something that can make our current skills even better.
Okay, so more like AI is our super smart assistant.
Exactly. Imagine you've got access to this AI that's analyzed thousands of sales conversations.
Okay, yeah.
It picks up on these patterns that we might miss and gives you real-time feedback and coaching.
It's like having a sales guru whispering in your ear during every single call.
In a way, it is. And we can't forget about the potential for AI to really personalize that customer experience, but at a massive scale.
Okay.
Think about it. You can tailor your entire sales approach, your messaging, your offers, all based on these incredibly specific data insights.
Okay, now that is next level. It really shows how much sales has evolved.
It really has. And the main takeaway here, I think, is that no single methodology is some magic solution, a magic bullet. It's about understanding what makes each one unique, what its strengths are, what its weaknesses are,
Right.
and then adapting your approach based on what's going on in that specific situation. Speaking of adaptation,
Yeah.
one thing that I thought was really interesting throughout all of these articles was just this emphasis on data
Data is huge.
and analytics.
It's not enough to just feel like something's working.
Right, you need the proof.
You got to measure it.
See what's actually going on.
Yeah, and I feel like in the past, sales managers, it was all about,
Gut feeling, intuition.
and maybe they listened to a couple calls.
Once a month.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's like,
Now we've got AI
Right.
analyzing every single customer interaction.
that's where TranscribeIQ comes in.
Exactly.
Almost like it's the secret sauce.
It's like having a fly on the wall for every single sales call, taking notes. He's on your side. It's about your team.
Right.
It's about understanding what's working,
Right.
what's not,
Using the data.
and then using that data to help your team improve.
So TranscribeIQ can tell you things like,
Oh,
how often are your reps hitting those key points?
Totally. Are they following the script? Are they listening? Are they letting that customer talk?
Even how engaged the prospect seems.
You can tell.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's like having a team of analysts
right?
working for you 24/7.
Without the cost.
Without the massive bill, yeah.
So for our listener out there who's, maybe feeling energized by all this, but
Yeah.
also a little bit intimidated about how to actually implement this stuff.
Right. It's a lot.
It sounds like TranscribeIQ could be that kind of.
That bridge,
Yeah, between
the rubber meets the road kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. 100%.
That's a good way to put it.
Takes out the guesswork. You're not relying on gut feeling anymore. Data-driven decision. Coaching, what methodology to even use.
Totally.
That's really cool. You need the right tool for the job.
Exactly.
But you got to ask yourself, if AI gets that good, that sophisticated,
All right.
what role is left for us humans, for the human salesperson, Will we even be needed in this future of super personalized AI-powered sales?
It's the million-dollar question, right? AI is great at automating tasks. It can give us those really valuable insights.
Right.
But I think there's always going to be a need for that human touch in sales, especially in B2B.
Okay.
That's where building relationships, that trust, it's paramount.
It goes back to what we were saying earlier about empathy,
Exactly.
that emotional intelligence, those qualities that just make us human.
You nailed it. AI can analyze data all day long and predict outcomes,
Right.
but it can't replicate that genuine connection, that human connection that really builds trust and closes those deals.
So it's not about us versus the machines.
Yeah.
Nope. It's about finding that sweet spot where technology and human ingenuity work together
Yes.
to create like a truly exceptional sales experience.
Now you're thinking like a true visionary. The most successful salespeople in the future are going to be the ones who embrace AI as their secret weapon, not as a threat. They're going to leverage those insights from the data, but still nurture those essential human connections.
That's a really good point. It's an exciting time to be in sales. I think,
Yeah.
so much potential for growth, innovation,
Absolutely.
and yeah, maybe even a little bit of AI magic along the way.
Little sprinkle of magic.
On that note of optimistic futurism, I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about.
A lot to unpack.
Huge thank you to you for joining us today for this deep dive into the world of B2B sales.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
It's always so insightful to chat with you. And to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of The Deep Dive. We hope you're walking away with the knowledge and inspiration you need to really level up your sales game. Remember, the best way to master these methodologies, to really make them your own, is to start experimenting. Find what works for you and never stop learning. Until next time, happy selling, everybody.